Close your eyes and picture America in 1776. What do you see? You probably envision Thomas Jefferson carefully dipping his quill into ink, Benjamin Franklin offering a wise, calm smile, and soaring words of liberty echoing through the grand halls of the Pennsylvania State House. That is the polished, picturesque masterpiece of the Enlightenment that the history books sold you. But now, open your eyes and take a deep, heavy breath. The first scent that hits the back of your throat isn't expensive parchment or fragrant tea. It's the stomach-churning stench of rotting flesh, wafting from makeshift military hospitals. It's the suffocating odor of horse manure, raw sewage, and garbage boiling in open street gutters beneath the sweltering, humid summer heat. Welcome to Philadelphia. This isn't a patriotic period drama. This is the greatest illusion in American history, and you have just stepped into a survival horror. At the exact moment that wealthy, powdered wig-wearing white men sit in a closed, guarded room finalizing the immortal words, "All men are created equal," the brutal hypocrisy of that statement is unfolding right outside their windows. Just blocks away from Independence Hall, enslaved black men and women are being paraded on auction blocks, the clanking of their iron chains drowned out only by the agonizing groans of destitute laborers dying of disease on the cobblestones. In the next 24 hours, you won't be invited into that sacred room. You are not a founding father, a wealthy merchant, or a triumphant general. You are a cracked brick at the very bottom of the social pyramid, a dirt-poor laborer exhausting your body just to earn half a loaf of moldy bread. This city is not the gentle cradle of liberty. It is a slaughterhouse. It is a breeding ground for invisible plagues, crippling political paranoia, and bloody mob violence. Your greatest enemy today isn't King George III across the ocean, and it isn't the massive British Armada assembling off the coast. The monster waiting to tear you apart, chew you up, and spit out your bones is this very city. Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from, and if you enjoy uncovering the forgotten stories of the past, please subscribe and journey with us through time. It is 5 a.m. The heavy metallic tolling of the city bells shatters the pitch-black morning. There is no gentle awakening in 1776. You open your eyes in a cramped, windowless boarding house near the waterfront, your back aching from a mattress stuffed with rotting straw. You are not alone. You are wedged against shivering family members, or perhaps transient strangers. You scratch your arms instinctively. Under the cover of darkness, bedbugs, fleas, and lice have been feasting on your skin for hours. As you sit up, the brutal July humidity wraps around your throat like a wet, dirty rag. The air in the room is stale, but the draft creeping under the warped door is even worse. It carries the distinct, suffocating stench of the Delaware River, which, right now, is essentially a sluggish, bubbling soup of raw human sewage, discarded animal carcasses from the slaughterhouses, and rotting refuse. But the smell is not the most terrifying thing waiting for you this morning. It is the sound. Through the thin timber walls, you hear a rhythmic, wet hacking coming from the narrow dirt alleyway below, followed by agonizing groans. Philadelphia is currently under siege, but not by British redcoats. The city is being ravaged by an invisible, merciless killer, smallpox. They call it the speckled monster. It thrives in these overcrowded, unsanitary slums, sweeping through tenements and military encampments alike. It turns healthy people into unrecognizable, feverish corpses covered in weeping, foul-smelling pustules. Every breath you take in this dense, unventilated air feels like a gamble with death. You wonder if the deadly miasma has already taken root in your own lungs. To survive the plague, you should stay inside. But to stay in this room means starving to death. The brutal colonial economy demands your labor, and the gnawing ache in your empty stomach makes the decision for you. First, though, you need fuel. You move toward the wobbly wooden table for your morning meal, yet as you reach for your food, you are completely unaware that your meager breakfast is laced with hidden toxins, quietly working to destroy you from the inside out. Because of the ongoing trade embargoes and the strict Continental Association boycotts against British goods, inflation is strangling the city. Basic necessities are becoming luxuries. You sit down to a breakfast that is less a meal and more a slow-acting poison. The bread in front of you looks like a pale, prestigious white loaf. But don't be fooled by its appearance. To stretch their meager profits and achieve that desirable color without high-quality flour, ruthless city bakers have mixed the dough with alum, chalk, and even ground-up animal bones. Every dense, gritty bite you force down is a cocktail of contaminants destined to cause agonizing stomach cramps and chronic malnutrition. To wash it down, you pour a cup of what passes for tea. It isn't the imported luxury of kings, nor is it the fine blend recently dumped into Boston Harbor. The leaves have been stretched with floor sweepings, ash tree leaves, and dyed a vibrant green using toxic copper carbonate. You stir in a lump of bitter, brownish sugar, harvested by enslaved people in the Caribbean under conditions so brutal that their average life expectancy on a plantation was less than 7 years. You don't savor this meal. You merely use it to fuel your body for the grueling 12 hours ahead. You step outside, heading toward the bustling shipyards and printing presses that drive Philadelphia's economy. The city is a hungry war machine, and it demands human sacrifices. You watch as young boys, no older than 10, are sent to climb inside scorching, narrow brick chimneys to sweep soot, risking broken bones, suffocation, and a horrifying future of industrial cancer. Down at the docks, men load heavy cargo without the aid of modern machinery, their hands calloused, bleeding, and permanently scarred. If you lose a finger or crush a foot under a falling barrel today, there is no safety net, no compensation. You will simply be replaced. By mid-morning, the brutal physical labor and the scorching heat take their toll. You pass by a bustling apothecary and then a makeshift clinic. If you think the streets are dangerous, colonial medicine is a veritable house of horrors. In 1776, there is no understanding of germ theory. There are no antibiotics, no true anesthetics, and very little compassion. The doctors of Philadelphia, though often educated in Europe, operate on principles that are more akin to medieval torture than healing. If you complain of a fever or the severe stomach cramps brought on by your toxic breakfast, the primary treatment is bloodletting. A physician will deliberately slice open your vein with a crude lancet, draining ounces, sometimes pints, of your blood into a bowl until you physically pass out. They believe this purges the body of bad humors. In reality, it simply weakens you, pushing you closer to the edge of death. If you are unlucky enough to contract the dreaded smallpox, the cure is arguably as terrifying as the disease. Before the invention of a safe vaccine, doctors practice inoculation. They take a lancet, dig it into the oozing, pus-filled sores of an infected patient, and intentionally slice that infected matter directly into an open cut on your arm. The hope is that you will develop a mild case and survive with immunity. But frequently, this deliberate infection spirals out of control, spreading the plague further and killing the patient in excruciating pain. You hurry past the clinic, the metallic smell of blood mingling with the stench of the street. Your body aches, and your mind craves a temporary escape from the exhaustion and fear. You head toward the one place where a poor laborer can find solace, a local tavern. But as you push open the heavy oak door, you realize that in revolutionary Philadelphia, a tavern is the most dangerous room you could possibly enter. It is 2 p.m. The sweltering afternoon sun beats down on the bustling streets, and, seeking a momentary refuge, you slip into the dim, smoky interior of a local tavern. Forget the cheerful, welcoming public houses depicted in modern historical reenactments. A colonial Philadelphia tavern in the summer of 1776 is an absolute powder keg. It reeks of cheap rum, stale pipe tobacco, and the sweat of desperate men. You slide into a dark corner and order a tankard of watered-down, fiery rum. You don't drink for leisure. You drink because it is the only affordable anesthetic to numb your aching joints and quiet the persistent terror of your daily existence. But you must consume your drink in absolute, vigilant silence. The tavern is no longer a place for casual conversation. It has devolved into a den of suffocating paranoia. The room is crawling with spies, informants, and radical enforcers from the local committees of safety and inspection. The city is violently fractured. You are expected to be a patriot, willing to bleed to burn the old world to the ground. If you show even a hint of hesitation, you are branded a loyalist, a traitor to the American cause. There is no middle ground, and neutrality is viewed as an act of war. You keep your eyes locked on the sticky wooden table. If you accidentally complain about the skyrocketing price of flour, or mutter a single word of frustration about the trade embargoes enacted by the Continental Congress, the man sitting right next to you might report you. Neighbors are routinely turning against neighbors. Debtors are betraying their creditors to the radical committees. In this atmosphere of feverish hypervigilance, a misplaced grievance is no longer just a difference of opinion. It is high treason. You swallow the last bitter drop of your rum, pay your tab with rapidly depreciating continental paper currency, and step back out into the blinding light. You pray that keeping your head down will keep you safe. But as you turn onto a crowded cobblestone avenue, you are about to discover that if the revolutionary mob decides you are an enemy of liberty, a quick death by a British musket would be infinitely more merciful than the agonizing torture they have prepared for you right around the corner. It is 5 p.m. As you leave the tavern and step into the suffocating late afternoon heat, a chaotic roar echoes down the cobblestone street. Textbooks portray the American Revolution as a series of elegant, philosophical debates held by gentlemen in powdered wigs. The gruesome reality of the streets tells a very different story. Here, the struggle for liberty is often enforced by brutal mob violence. Radical factions like the Sons of Liberty and the local committees of inspection operate less like noble patriots and more like ruthless street gangs, terrorizing anyone suspected of harboring loyalist sympathies. You are violently shoved against a brick wall as a frenzied crowd drags a local merchant from his shop. His supposed crime might be selling imported British goods, hoarding flour, or simply refusing to sign a radical non-importation agreement. You are about to witness the horrific practice of tar and feathering. In modern cartoons, this punishment looks like a comical, harmless prank. In 1776, it is a barbaric form of public torture. The mob violently strips the merchant naked and pins him to the dirt. A massive iron kettle of pine tar, heated to a blistering boil, is brought forward. The screaming victim is drenched in the scalding black sludge. The boiling tar instantly causes third-degree burns, melting away layers of skin and fusing to his flesh. Next, they coat his agonizing, blistered body in goose feathers to strip away the last shreds of his humanity. Many victims of this torture are left permanently disfigured. Others die slow, excruciating deaths from massive infections or severe burn shock. You are horrified, but you dare not look away, and you certainly dare not show any pity. To survive, you must blend in. You force yourself to cheer with the bloodthirsty crowd, knowing that a single look of sympathy could make you the next victim. While this gruesome barbarity unfolds in the open air, the elites inside Independence Hall remain safely locked away, signing documents in the name of human rights. But as the sun begins to set, the terrors of the day are about to give way to the profound, lawless darkness of the night. It is now 7 p.m. The oppressive heat of the day has finally begun to break, but the tension in the city only thickens. While you try to scrub the grime and the smell of fear from your skin, an elite group of men remains sealed inside the red brick walls of Independence Hall, less than a mile away. These are the men history will remember: John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin. You will not find your name in their letters or diaries. They are currently locked in heated, often bitter debate over the final wording of a document that will sever ties with the British Crown forever. To them, this is a moment of profound philosophical triumph and political courage. To you, it is an absolute death sentence. You do not care about the lofty rhetoric of unalienable rights or the abstract concepts of self-government. What matters to you is the immediate, terrifying consequence of their actions. Declaring independence is an act of high treason against the most powerful empire on the face of the earth. You know that King George III will not simply let his most valuable colonies slip away based on a strongly worded parchment. Rumors have been swirling through the alleys and taverns all week. The British Navy is amassing a massive invasion force. If, or rather when, the British fleet sails up the Delaware River, their cannons will not discriminate between patriot and loyalist, between the wealthy merchant and the starving laborer. They will bombard the city, set the timber houses ablaze, and crush the rebellion with overwhelming, ruthless military force. You realize that the Founding Fathers might hang for their treason, but it is your home that will be burned to the ground. It is your sons who will be drafted into a ragtag, poorly equipped militia to face professional, bayonet-wielding redcoats. The philosophical victory of the elites will be paid for in the blood of the poor. As the last rays of sunlight fade behind the steeples, you prepare for the true horrors of the night. It is 9 p.m. The sun has finally surrendered, plunging Philadelphia into a suffocating, ink-black darkness. Forget the romanticized visions of warmly lit cobblestone streets. Illumination in 1776 is a luxury reserved solely for the wealthy. For the poor, the city transforms from a grueling theater of labor into a lethal, unpredictable hunting ground. There is no organized, professional police force to call upon if you are cornered. The winding alleys and waterfront docks now belong exclusively to violent gangs, starving deserters from the local militias, and ruthless footpads armed with heavy wooden bludgeons and rusty blades. As you make your way home, you navigate the labyrinth of the city with your head down and your heart pounding, clutching a makeshift club inside your ragged coat. You strain your ears, jumping at every sudden crunch of gravel or splash of stagnant water beneath an unseen stranger's boot. As if the human predators weren't enough, an ever-present apocalyptic threat looms over the closely packed, timber-framed neighborhoods: fire. With absolutely no modern firefighting infrastructure, a single knocked-over tallow candle or a poorly banked tavern hearth could rapidly reduce entire city blocks to a smoldering graveyard of ash and bone. The faint scent of wood smoke drifting through the humid night air isn't comforting. It is a constant, terrifying reminder of how fragile your existence truly is. You weave through the foul-smelling, pitch-black corridors of your neighborhood, finally reaching the rotting wooden steps of your overcrowded boarding house. You step inside your sweltering room and immediately throw the heavy, rusted iron bolt across the door. You let out a long, shaky breath, your muscles screaming in agony from 14 hours of back-breaking labor. You have miraculously survived another brutal day in the revolutionary capital. But as you collapse onto your flea-infested mattress and the absolute darkness of the room swallows you whole, a chilling realization sets in. You may have locked the door against the violent mobs and the cutthroats roaming the streets outside, but the thing quietly gnawing at you in the suffocating dark isn't just the rats. It is midnight. The city bells toll again, their cold, metallic chimes completely indifferent to your exhaustion. You lie staring at the low, rotting ceiling in the oppressive heat, listening to the muffled snores of your family and the distant drunken shouts from the streets below. In just 5 short hours, this grueling cycle of survival will reset. The tragic reality of 1776 Philadelphia is that while it is widely celebrated as the birthplace of a new, enlightened nation, that birth is being paid for by the invisible, expendable masses. Tomorrow, the young climbing boys will once again strip naked and crawl into the suffocating, soot-choked chimneys of the wealthy merchants who speak so passionately about liberty. Tomorrow, the women will again try to stretch a handful of chalky flour and tainted meat to keep their children from starving, completely cut off from the global trade that built this city. Tomorrow, the enslaved men and women will continue to toil without wages, autonomy, or any hope that the unalienable rights being drafted just blocks away will ever apply to them. You are the invisible mortar holding the red bricks of this historic city together. You, and tens of thousands like you, are building the very infrastructure of a revolution that you will never truly benefit from. 2.5 centuries from now, tourists will walk these same streets. They will admire the Georgian architecture. They will gaze at the Liberty Bell and read the Declaration of Independence, feeling a deep, romanticized connection to a golden era of philosophical triumph. But they will not see the blood in the gutters. They will not smell the tar. They will not remember the names of the mechanics, the laborers, and the enslaved who were chewed up and spat out by the colonial war machine. They will remember the founding fathers, but it was the ghosts of the working class who truly built the nation. The next time you hear a romanticized tale of the American Revolution, or see a pristine painting of gentlemen in powdered wigs politely discussing the future of democracy, remember the brutal reality of Philadelphia in 1776. Remember the stench of the boiling tar and the open cesspits. Remember the agonizing cries from the makeshift medical clinics and the paralyzing fear of mob justice in the taverns. The profound concepts of liberty and equality were indeed born in this city, but they did not emerge from a sterile, perfect society. They were forged in a crucible of suffering, disease, and desperate endurance. The true cost of American independence wasn't just debated in Congress. It was paid on the cobblestone streets by the marginalized, the exploited, and the enslaved. The very people left out of the grand promises of the Declaration. History is rarely as clean or as simple as the textbooks would have you believe. To truly understand the magnitude of what happened here, you have to look past the gilded mythology and confront the grime, the blood, and the human cost of survival. If you are ready to stop settling for the sanitized version of the past and want to uncover the dark, hidden truths of history, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We are rebuilding the past, one brutal day at a time, pulling back the curtain on the eras they didn't want you to see. Which city's dark secrets and survival horrors should we uncover next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below. Until next time, we'll see you in the past.